Good morning and welcome to Rewarding and Recruiting Staff in Challenging Market Environments. Today we'll be joined by Iain and by Emma, who are going to walk us through a challenge I think that every SME is facing right now, how to recruit, but yet also retain really good staff. So those of you unaware, Bridge Enterprise Centre is based here in Nutgrove in Dublin. We have a number of business operating on site with us. We also offer meeting rooms, hot desks, postbox services, as well as training spaces for up to 60 people in our newly refurbished meeting space. We also have a wonderful hub. So the hub is a dedicated office space aimed at startups and businesses looking to grow their business through a mentor program and through collaboration with like-minded businesses. We have one or two remaining spaces left. The businesses that we have on site already are finding that they're able to bounce ideas off each other and have really gained multiple new customers. So if you know anyone that's looking to focus and grow their business, if they're working from home from their kitchen, or if they've got a great idea and they're just not sure on the next steps, get in touch and we'll send the details. So before we begin, I just want to invite you all to our community network. DLR West Business Association over the last 8 months has grown a community of over 120 member businesses to support a network like yours in the area of Nutgrove, Churchtown, Ballantyre and beyond. We meet monthly in person, so scan the QR code today if you're interested in joining. Here is a list of some of our events. So the DLR West Business Association meet in person monthly. We host information sessions, training, upskilling, and June's session will be held on the 9th on social media. We utilised your feedback from our reporting, and social media became top of your preferences of topics to cover. So we're hosting that next, and any other feedback on topics that you want us to cover, please do share. We are also hosting a really efficient hour lunch and learn session for SME owners. They're held here in Nutgrove. And the first of the 4-part series is taking place today at 1 p.m, focused on pricing for profit with our expert Mark Fielding. So if any of the future topics are of interest to you, please let us know and we can sign you up and send you the details from today's event as well so you don't miss out. Okay, I'd like to pass over to Iain. If you have any questions between now and the end of the session, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A or the chat box and I will raise them at the end. Over to you, Iain. Thank you very much.
That's great. Excuse me. Thanks, Clara, and good morning, everybody. The background to G-Words Health and the reason why I'm delighted that Bridge have invited us here today is just we built an SME solution for the SME business in particular. So we are a small business. We know every one of our clients. And so we're not simply talking about another corporate type structure. It's a benefit platform that we think, and we get feedback from our SME clients is very important. We built it because the world has changed. I mean, it is still an employee market pretty much since 2019. I know Emma's going to share more details about that when she comes on the call. But it's becoming very clear that to get reward and retain and compete for great people goes beyond the salary war. I mean, the problem with taxation is that, you know, for every euro that you pay somebody now, they're going to lose 55 cents. And so it's not an incentive it is anymore. And some of the statistics talk about that employees are looking for benefits. They're rating it up there even more highly than just basic salary in terms of what's taking place. When we stepped in the marketplace 3 years ago, we wanted to make sure that we built a very compelling benefits platform. So yes, healthcare is involved, well-being is involved, but we continually try and evolve our platform so it adds value for people who aren't sick, and therefore giving something back to our clients along the way. Okay. But I do think it's really important that health and well-being isn't just a nicety anymore. We're seeing changes happen in the marketplace, particularly around mental well-being. You know, if you look at the changes in the legislation, mental well-being is now a disability. And so the WRC is now taking all of these things much more seriously. So when we're working with our clients, we're saying, look, yes, it's great to have a healthcare platform. And some people would say it's just a really nice benefit. But actually, we want to do more than that. We want to protect our clients. So when we onboard members, we do three things. We communicate when they get it. We communicate a second time to make sure that they understand what they've got. And then every month we remind them that they have access to these benefits. And what that does is that down the line, if ever an employee raises a hand and go, I don't think I know about that particular benefit you've given us, actually we're able to point back to the times they opened the previous emails and they got understanding of it. So this is probably the biggest piece that's taken place. We've seen it in our own business. The fact that we had our own health and wellbeing platform in place has helped us in some of our own circumstances as well. The idea behind stress and burnout, it's very prevalent. It's becoming very, very clear that it is one of the leading issues in the workplace that's taking place. If you look at the 24% of employees taking mental health leave compared to the EU average, you know that's going to increase. Cost of living crisis taking place, all the challenges we see in the marketplace. For us, it is a real cost to a business. It's time out. It's the impact on the other team members when people have to leave. And also, it's this concept around presenteeism that 55% of the time people are in work, but they're not fully focused on the work that they do. The second side of it, and this for me is more fundamental, Ireland's got a GP crisis. So we don't just talk about employee assistance programs. We don't just talk about the access to the counselling services we make available. Access to GPs is one of the most fundamental criteria everyone should have right now. Again, Emma will speak on this in a while, but we know we've reached into the international workforce to try and shore up the skills that we don't have. 75% of GP practices are closed, and that's probably understated in terms of a number. You've got the shortfall in GPs taking place, and this idea 2 to 7 days just to get a GP appointment has a direct impact on the business, on the individual, and then on their families in terms of what's taking place. And we're the only country in Europe that has to pay a visitation rights for GP every time you go and visit a GP. Everybody else has got a funded solution in Europe. In 2024, the Irish public paid 455 million euros just to visit their GPs, 9 times out of 10 just to get a prescription. So what does it do? IBEC would tell us that we lose 4.2 days per year per employee just waiting for a GP appointment. That's not counting the time it takes for people to heal once they go and see them. If we look at the impact per day, every day that I don't have an employee in the office, it's costing me 160 euros to my bottom line, and the work still has to get done. And then if we look at the workforce in terms of where parents are involved, when a child gets sick, 54% of the time, it's the mothers who have to rechange schedules, look for time out of the office so that they're able to mind the children that takes place. So it creates a real knock-on effect. So our GP service that we offer for members extends into the family automatically. It's not an additional cost. And it's because of this. It's because the crisis is never about me. It's going to be about my children. And then as we talk about the 30% of the SME staff for non-nationals face GP barriers, it has a direct impact as well. So the argument for where we're going to in terms of employees is we have to go beyond the pay slip and a smile. And it's a phraseology I heard mentioned by one of our own clients about 2 years ago when they came on board. So that ability to look at the total reward package that takes place. So if you look at what's there, you've got the €1,500 small tax benefit exemption. You've got the ability to recognize people from a cultural point of view. You've got lifestyle and family benefits. So we've incorporated that. We've got things like discounted travel as part of our health and well-being. The Icelandic medical profession have prescribed travel as part of a well-being solution. So there's a genuine correlation between travel and well-being. I love to travel, so we put a discount platform on there. And obviously the health and well-being supports. The fact that we built a corporate solution for the SME marketplace means that we are providing an affordable alternative for people for whom healthcare hasn't been usable or actionable now for employees. So that ability to bring all of those strings to bear means that we can reward, retain, and importantly, compete for good people in the marketplace. So what does it look like? So, for our SMEs carrying health absence and legal risk, can be significantly reduced by taking the right benefit platform into place. Um, and I say this tongue in cheek, but thanks to revenue, even the free lunch is now gone. So I talk to some of my corporate clients, and they go, they can't even put a sandwich on a plate because they don't know how revenue going to treat that from a BIK point of view. So all of a sudden, the free lunches corporates giving aren't as freely available. So now we can compete for some of those better people as well. So it should give you a meaningful benefit that costs less than 1 hour increment. That's the price point we have for our product. Be tangible. It means it's genuinely usable. The utilization rate of our benefits platform across our members is between 41 and 46%, depending which part of the country you live in. It should be visible. So we're available on currently with Google as an app. We will be Apple based whenever Apple gives us the release, hopefully the next couple of days. And it's something that you directly can compete with corporate employers on. So we've taken the same health benefit that are available, for example, to VHI members, and we've made those available to SME employees. So we've taken real value what's taken place, and you're giving people a reason to join, and just supposing you're giving people a reason to stay. And we all know it's one thing employing somebody, it's twice as costly when you lose them. And so how can we make sure that we put retention into what we're doing when it comes to employees? So without blowing our own trumpet, but I am pretty proud of what we're trying to do as a business, is that we've created a platform that ticks an awful lot of these boxes. I've said this a few times, same day access to GPs. We won't have time for a demonstration today, but literally, if you'd like to book a demonstration for 10 minutes, I'll show you, I could have our members speaking to a GP inside 90 minutes. And that's massively important because that means they don't have to leave the office to get a prescription. They don't have to take a half day off just to go and meet the GP for repeat prescriptions, or more importantly, they can plan the timing of their GP appointment for outside of office hours. So you'll see there, we're available 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. So none of my children ever get sick at a convenient time. It's always grossly inconvenient. So we've taken care of that. Counselling and EAP, massively important and growing. We're seeing more and more utilization in terms of what's taking place there. And so that's available. And this idea of know before you go. So we mapped out the healthcare guide system for 170 countries around the world using AI, which we call Ask Alex. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One is if you've got staff who are traveling on business, that they're aware of what's taking place. Our GP service will actually cover them right across Europe. So they need a prescription while they're waking up in Paris or Barcelona, that actually have a GP service through the app without having to look at the local healthcare system. But more importantly, when you're recruiting international staff coming into Ireland, they're completely ignorant of how difficult our healthcare system is. So having that knowledge and education is very important. I mentioned the travel discount. And then we've done a deal with Randox Health. For those who can't get into GPs and need blood tests, Randox have 24 clinics around Ireland. And so it's a way that you can begin looking after your healthcare from that side of it. I've mentioned this, 8 a.m., 10 p.m., 7 days a week, no wait list. That's probably our core USP in terms of what takes place. Of all the benefits, if you look over the years, and I'm a long time around working with SME business owners, this is the benefit that puts money back into the pocket of you as a business owner, because you're saving the days lost. It's putting money back in the pocket of the employee because they're saving the 80 euros prescription cost they pay going to a GP. So it's one of those very rare benefits. And the fact when it's managed right, there's no BIK, means that it's directly positive from an employee point of view. So we saw with auto enrollment at the start of the year, we understand the concept of saving for longer term benefits. It had a real actual cash flow impact to people's take-home pay on a monthly basis. So, short-term it's had pain. We wanted to make sure we avoided that. Our satisfaction ratings are huge, 98% member satisfaction rating. That comes from after every time that they use our service, they get sent an anonymous survey, and it comes back with those ratings. 89% of health challenges solved in the same day, so it's probably slightly higher. So for most people, the GP is about a prescription. It's about a placebo. Am I going to be all right? The fact that we give prescriptions, 6 certs and also referral letters to GPs means we behave exactly like a GP does. And this to me is hugely important. If you do a demo, I'll show you my own account and the number of appointments I made over the last 3 years since we've opened it up. But it's the continuity of care. So if I ring up and go onto the platform, it isn't just a one and done. They look back over the history I've had floating around in terms of pre-utilization. So that continuity of care becomes just as important. And as I said, the whole family gets covered. And here's a segue. My daughter was studying for Erasmus in Madrid last year, and she was able to use our platform to be able to get a prescription a couple of occasions without having to speak Spanish. And so peace of mind was huge for us as a parent. And obviously from a business owner, we extend that to members and their children as well. I think this is one of the crucial wins that takes place for anybody looking to recruit right now. So if you've got a culture about supporting your employees and are family minded, then this really shows that and proves it out. So, when I'm looking to recruit an employee, particularly if it's somebody on the frontline sales, it's when they bring home and say to the partner, the good news is actually we've got GP appointments paid for as a family. That extends that loyalty and that retention into the family network. It becomes part of making a statement about how much we support employees. And then, as I say, look, it's designed to be affordable. 1 hour's wages per employee per month. That's a number that everyone can get their head around. We'll speak about where it goes. And it is for us. It's about recruit. It's about retain. It's also about everyday engagement. The more people use our platform for, good stuff, not just being ill, the more they look back at their employer and say, thank you for the benefit. So our job is always to add constant value to what we're giving from a benefits platform point of view. As I mentioned, when it's structured correctly, there's no BIK, and that's obviously hugely important as well. So, because all of us are small business owners, we don't have HR departments. And therefore, our job is to be part of the growth solution for our clients. We do all the management here. So we'll onboard your employees. We'll do the communication that's taking place. We do a monthly check-in email to remind them that they have it. And then we've got a dedicated email service 24/7. If they've got any queries, we will then answer those queries directly. So we're not the risk in the relationship is something I heard people talk about when branding and partnerships have worked together. And so we make sure that we have continuity of service there on your behalf. And then this idea, strong businesses are built on supported people. So, supporting families, reducing friction, building teams. We all know the biggest single thing that matters is that when you support people, they will give that support back to you. And, we face this challenging time. AI is going to be hugely disruptive. It creates anxiety. It creates uncertainty. And as we're starting to realize it's as bad as it's good, it's creating more workload as we check all the hallucinations that come out of ChatGPT and Claude and all the AI stuff sitting there. So we want to recognize that being able to give a little bit more back to our employees means they'll work with us a little bit harder. I've had it this week with a couple of clients where, teams of 7 and 8, 2 people out sick, the impact is huge. So the quicker we get them back, the more we support the fact that people are picking up the slack. We've got to think differently about how we look after employees going forward. You're on mute there, Clara.
Thank you so much, Iain. Apologies about that. I'd like to introduce Emma, please. And thank you so much for your time, Iain. We'll catch you at the Q&A at the end.
That's great. Thanks, Clara. Good luck, Emma.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Clara, for having me today. Good morning, everybody. You'll have to bear with me a little bit. I'm just getting over a cold, so I might take a few water stops along the way. If you can just bear with me as well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here this morning. I'm going to specifically focus in on the attraction of candidates to your business, and then retaining your staff in this market. So if you'd just like to move on to the next slide there, I'll give you a little bit of information on Osborne. itself, I'm a recruitment and business director with Osborne. I've been with the organisation 15 years. We have 13 offices across 9 in Ireland, and then we've got 4 offices across UK and North America and Canada. Clara, if you'd like to move on to the next slide, I'll give you a bit of information just on our specialisms. If you'd like to move to the next 2 slides, we work in a number of different areas across multiple sectors. Some include office support, accountancy and finance, technical and engineering, IT, and senior level appointments. The services we provide, Clara, if you'd just like to move on there to the next 2 slides, that'd be super. Which is all across permanent staffing, temporary, project recruitment, and outplacement services would be a number of many different services that we do provide. So just to give you a little bit of information on Osborne, but just to delve right into the current market before we go into, I suppose, the recruitment and retention side of things, because we do get a lot of questions from businesses out there in terms of the market now. What I have seen over the last number of years, so say post-COVID, when we came out of COVID, yes, there was definitely an off balance where there was a huge demand for jobs out there, for talent. There were a lot of open vacancies. And it definitely was leaning towards more of the employee market over the last number of years that I feel it has balanced out. I think we do see a lot of mini trends along the way, which pop up every couple of months. Some of the statistics there, you can see the employment rate, it still is quite low. It has gone down slightly. The employment growth is positive. It is slowing, but nothing to be worried about at all. As I say, these are just mini trends we're seeing all the time. The business market, primarily in Ireland, makes up of SMEs. Over 90% of businesses sit within that space. So businesses that we do talk to on a daily basis do sit within that. So we definitely hear the pain points with these organizations, and it is primarily around attracting people and retaining them. These businesses do make up, at the current statistics, 67% of the private sector workforce do sit within the SME space. So I think sometimes there is a perception that you're competing against big global multinational organizations, and that is not always the case. It is actually companies you are competing with, which would be within the SME space. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing and what's important for employees out there and their motivators. The market is steady. I see demand in the majority of sectors out there. Yes, you see the ones that are being talked about the most within tech, data, pharma, life science. There's a huge amount of investment going into AI and tech, that industry. That's probably where we're seeing the biggest investment at the moment. But if I was to take a step back, it really is all sectors that are busy. And within, I suppose, my industry, and when we look at things, the type of job hires can really indicate how the market is going. So we're seeing a lot of recruitment in HR, human resources, that side of things. That's always really positive when we see those type of hires. That's always a role where it's more of an investment and for a business to have. It's a service that can be outsourced quite a lot. So when we do see companies hiring within that space, it's always a positive sign for the market. Equally with support staff, if businesses are able to recruit in that sector, we see that as quite a positive sign as well. So we're seeing a lot of that recruitment at the moment. So that's a really good indicator of the market currently as well. If you'd like to move on to the next slide there, that'd be great. So what I wanted to touch on today is the attraction of people. So the processes out there, businesses will advertise a job, they'll put it out to market. What I suppose businesses don't think about all the time is that employer branding piece, attracting the right people to your organization. So if you were wondering, how important is this, or what does it look like? I always encourage businesses to take a step back and look at it like a candidate. So if you think about a candidate and how they look for a job, so they'll see the job being advertised, they will go onto your website they'll explore your business. So yes, they look at your services or the products that you're selling, but they're thinking, okay, am I interested in what they're doing? And does this organization look like a good place to work? So that could be things like, about us page. How does that represent you? How are you talking about what you do and what you are as an employer to join as well? Is your values clearly laid out? Is your mission statement clearly laid out? Because this is genuinely what candidates look for when they go online. What is your social media presence? A huge amount of candidates now in the market will also go onto your social media and have a look at how active you are there and what you're posting. So it's really great to see when organizations are posting things on LinkedIn about the cool things you're doing, the products, the services, all of that. But also, have you posted anything about your workplace or your team? Has your team worked on a project recently, and are you promoting that? Are you talking about the collaboration piece? This is your branding. This is what you look like as a business to join. Another really important tool is reviews. So Google reviews, candidates are absolutely using this, and it is forming as part of a decision-making factor for them. So what does your Google reviews look like for both, your customers as well, which is really important, but for future employees as well? And Glassdoor is being used as well. So if you're not familiar with Glassdoor, go online, have a look and see, is your organization up there and has any current or previous employees left reviews? If you haven't done any of this yet, it's a great starting point. Get your current team to go online, leave those reviews on both Glassdoor and also on Google reviews as well. If you haven't formed it as part of maybe your customer experience, at the end of every customer experience, encourage customers to go online, provide a link to them, get them to leave a Google review. The more positive reviews are up there, it just helps your employer branding so much. Candidates are really researching organizations and making sure that that organization is a really good fit for them. Moving on to the next slide then, I think another really important part of the candidate experience is the onboarding and induction piece. This again is outside of I know Iain talked to a lot of the benefits, and I will touch on that a little bit myself, adding on to some of the really important notes that Iain did mention around the importance of benefits and the impact it has. The candidate experience and the new employee experience coming into the business is a crucial time for them. I could share loads of statistics and data around the importance of a really good onboarding experience for the candidate within the first 12 weeks. This can determine their longevity and commitment to the role and the organization. And this also forms part of that whole employer branding. So I completely appreciate that organizations are really busy, especially if it is a smaller team. We tend to wear multiple hats, but just giving a little bit of time to prepare for somebody coming in. And it's as simple as, having all their equipment ready to go on their first day, making sure it's all up and running, having their desk there, having a clear plan of what the first week, the first 4, 8, and 12 weeks look like, having a structured process around job shadowing, time with yourself, and clearly setting expectations. This is a vital tool to have for the impact on that candidate experience and coming in and retaining them. Inductions is definitely so reduction is number one, a really important tool to get somebody embedded into the organization and up and running quickly, but it is also a retention tool as well. So when we place candidates in organizations and we check in with them on a regular basis within the first couple of months, the feedback that we get about how they feel welcomed, how they feel very clear about their expectations and how to perform and make a success of their job is all to do with that induction experience right from the beginning. So we just move on then to the next slide. So just touching on that retention piece. So it starts with day one. I'm a really big believer in performance management. So not only to ensure that that person has success in their role and ensuring that everything is very clear and set out and you're supporting them in, having success in their job. I am a big believer, and Osborne is on the 30-30 rule. So 30 minutes every 30 days with your employees. So sitting down, I think it's really good to have a structured form where you can, get them to fill it out. They complete it, you review the last 30 days quickly, and you spend most of that time together planning out the time ahead. However, this is vital where you're given that employee space and time with you one-on-one. And this is where you can catch things quickly. So this is where you really get to know them, get to know their motivators, what drives them, what's important to them. So sometimes it could be a candidate that has joined the organization and they're with you and you're doing your performance reviews, and they could be super ambitious, and you have found out about their real ambitions. You're in a growth phase yourself where you have a strategy over the next 1, 3, or 5 years, and from those performance reviews what their ambitions are and what their capabilities are as well. And then you can form them and bring them into that succession planning. And that is a really important retention tool. However, it could be other really small things like, a candidate has joined, but they're actually struggling to get there on a Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning time because they're on the school run. And because you've given that space to talk to them, they've told you this, and you could be in a position to perhaps change their working hours for that Wednesday alone. And you've caught that in time. So you're catching the small problems before they, I suppose, grow into bigger problems. And that leads back to what Iain was saying, around reducing time out, or, the burnout where people could be feeling this pressure. But by just having that one small conversation, you've fixed that small problem before it moves into something bigger. Just moving then on to the next slide there. So as I've talked about, that retention piece, it starts from the attraction stage. The induction piece is super important. Building relationships, as Iain was talking about, supporting people. That is as simple as, just having those catch-ups, or, impromptu coffees and just catching up, building those relationships, having really open communication, and that open door policy genuinely does lead to conversations that seem big for the person, that could influence them to start looking for another job, but it could be something that you could easily fix as well. So when we meet candidates and we're asking them what's important to you, what are you looking for now in your next job? Yes, there is a cost of living issue, and candidates don't want to go back in salary. But once you can match their salary in this market, and that is absolutely fine. What we're hearing more and more now, candidates want to go in, they want to enjoy the work they're doing, they want to work in a healthy, safe working environment. That's their expectation at a minimum. Once they're going in and they're enjoying themselves and they're showing up and they're doing a good job, and it's mutual respect and all of that, one of the main things we're hearing from candidates is flexibility. So yes, over the last couple of years, more and more people are returning to the workplace. Candidates are more expectant of that. If you can provide hybrid, that is always really welcomed. But hybrid and remote isn't one of their main requirements. It's flexibility. It's such things as Wednesday mornings are tough for me, or I've got a phone call from the school, I need to go home. Can I work there from the rest of the day? Or it's taken me 2 days to get a GP appointment, and I have to get it on Thursday, and I can't get to work at home, all of that on that day. Can I work from home? It's that flexibility, that support piece that Iain was talking about. That's genuinely what people are looking for. So by creating that space of having open conversations with people, getting to know them, building those relationships, and just catching things early, is going to help reduce that retention piece. If you're in a position to, what I am hearing more and more now is around annual leave. I absolutely appreciate time out does cost business money, but if you were able to provide any more extra annual leave and spread it out, or give an extra company day, whether it's on a Good Friday or a Christmas Eve, those things go a long way as well. Just this week alone, our CEO, Shona McManus, on Monday, was it Monday, which was the really hot weather, said for everybody to go home a little bit early. And, you know, that's where you feel like you're being taken care of. We love that. So we did. Doesn't matter what age you're at or what role you're in, getting to get home a little bit early, enjoying that sunshine can make a really big difference. So yes, monetary is important, benefits is important, but it's that workplace, the support, the conversations. That is what leads to a more healthier, productive environment that's going to retain people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma and Iain. What a great session. I think we've all taken a few takeaways that we can definitely roll out across our own organizations. Like some immediate things could be getting the business owners and managers to do a campaign about increasing their employee Glassdoor profiles or for all the staff that are currently being employed, making sure that Google reviews are automatically sent out to any businesses after their customers have completed their services. They're really simple things that can really up your brand identity. And I think that ensuring the onboarding is clear and documented is another thing that's really easy to do. Just spend a few minutes putting a structure together, making sure they have almost like a buddy and support system there so that people feel like they're connected to the business. And definitely about the company culture. I think building that trust and support and flexibility. I think employees are misunderstood a little bit. They're both in the same boat as they want the company to succeed, but realistically today's day and age is very difficult for people and parents to adapt to doctor's appointments, school runs, things like that. So I think you really hit the nail on the head, both of you, with getting that benefits and flexibility outlined. So we have some questions that have come in, so feel free to jump in if anyone has any feedback on them. So maybe this is for you, Emma. What are candidates prioritizing when choosing between jobs? I know you touched on that earlier.
Yeah. Location now can be a big one, I'm finding, especially the beginning of the year, because as you know, the way traffic went completely out of control in the Dublin location. So that was a really big motivator for people. So that's something just to keep in mind if you are talking to people and you know they're far away. How is the commute working for them? How is there any flexibility within that? Learning and development, actually, I didn't touch on that. That's a really important one as well. People want to develop. I find actually that not everybody necessarily wants to step up into a people leadership role. That definitely has changed now. People want to become more specialized, more experts in their field. So is there anything that you can do to support people? So again, you'll find out this in those one-to-one sessions. And then is there anything that you can bring in that's helping them develop themselves in their role? It is another really important one as well.
We had a session actually a few weeks ago talking about all the grants available to people that are looking to upskill some of their current staff.
Yes.
We have an AI consultant tool on our Bridge Enterprise Centre website if anyone wants to look that up today. If you click on AI consultant and you can type in, I have staff, I want to improve their social media, I want to improve their accountancy, whatever their specialisation is. And there's loads of courses available that are free or heavily discounted that may be out of office hours or remote, or indeed if you want to give them some time off to upskill in those areas. You can really see the benefits because the employee feels valued, they're improving their current CV as well, and really adding value to the business as a whole. So I think that's a really good area to invest in. And then again, this is a question that came in. Maybe Iain, you can answer this one. So they're saying they're struggling with payroll costs and they really want to reward their employees fairly. But what strategies can they do to do this really at a low cost at the beginning? So Iain, do you want to take on that one?
Yeah, sure. It's funny because obviously we talk across a huge number of companies, and it comes up about fairness. So you have two things you got to consider. One is about how long how long employees are in the business, and so what you define as fair. So when it comes to G Words Health, we get a sort of a hybrid happening in some circumstances over a certain level of tenure in the business. They want to award the healthcare. Below that, there may be some sort of probationary period before it comes into play. And then secondly, and it comes into things like the culture around bonuses and paying bonuses. It really is. It comes down to how do you measure. So Emma talks about your 30-30, which I think is huge. Um, because if you're not communicating to employees and then you talk about, what you consider to be a fair bonus or a fair reward, and they don't understand why it's being measured, that becomes difficult. And I sit on the board of a couple of companies where we do some consulting work with, and the issue around pay transparency is absolutely becoming a huge piece at this stage. And I know we talk about it above 50 employees, it's not an issue. But I know when it comes to things like advertising for jobs, it's going to become a key player. And there will be questions around what's the mindset and motivation for why a certain salary is set. So I think that period of change is coming into play. It's very difficult to manage fairness because that's very personal. But I think, transparent process and communication is how you make that as fair as you could make it. There'll always be a row at some point.
Especially with the gender pay gap, highlighting that as a woman in business. Maybe Emma, you can take this one that came in. A business owner said they're really struggling to hire good quality employees at the moment. Is it an employee's market?
So I think it has balanced out a little bit. So yes, post-COVID, it was a bit crazy out there for a while. Absolutely. It has balanced out. However, I think no matter what type of market we're in, it always is a bit of a challenge attracting good talent. And the reality is we have seen companies go outside of Ireland for a very specialist role because the reality is there isn't the skills here. I think that it goes back to the attraction piece. Maybe recruiting with a recruiter if that is required, but also getting your branding out there as an employer, being seen out there as an employer of choice, starting with that and attracting people in. There is an influx of students after coming into Ireland again over the number of years, which is brilliant to see. Just amazing skills within that. So there's a lot of graduate students available on the market with really good skills and experiences. I think employers are becoming more open to looking at, okay, if we had to go down the sponsorship route, if that role is within that category, looking at that, the processes have improved a little bit. So just maybe exploring that option as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd also add, Clara, be careful what you pay for. So, there is a case where, it's very difficult to ascertain what a good salary is. And we live in the cost of living crisis and all those things. Some of it's about, there's an adage in the sales world, there's no good salesperson who's unemployed. Because if they're that good, they're going to be taken up by everybody. So sometimes your engagement with recruitment is about talent hunting. It's about trying to find somebody who's already in a job and trying to see if you can entice them to come across. So it's not just about CVs and advertising. It's about being smarter around finding the right people and be prepared to pay for it. And I think that's the difficulty people have, is that what is an affordable price at that stage as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of people I've seen yesterday, I was at Dublin Tech Summit, and people are loving being hired through almost reputation. So if a business reputation stands out, then they're willing to move realistically. Even if the salary isn't there, they know that people are happy in that job and that company. And so I think that's important to look back at yourself and say, maybe it's not the candidate, maybe it's myself. What can I do internally to build up the brand, the marketing, the consistency about employee satisfaction? And then you can start looking for the right candidates once you have your own home checked in.
Yeah, you're right. And to be fair, I mean, we took on a full-time AI person there back about 6 months ago. It was thanks to Intertrade. It was partially funded with those guys, which is great. But the first time, I mean, Kripali has joined us. She is from India, and so the first time I heard this concept around purpose-led jobs, about the alignment of their goals, their ambitions, and their ethos now coming into play as well. And so, as it happens, health is a purpose-led ideal that she has, so it's going to align very well. But so just be thinking that stuff. There's a new set of language out there that the older generation, and put my hand up when I say that in isolation of the rest of the room, is this idea about being purpose-led and recognizing that that alignment is also much more emotive than it is financial or tangible that we might think at this stage.
You definitely brought it up there, Iain, the big AI question. I think employees, employers, it's a very difficult area to navigate. And again, I've seen it be a big talking point a lot. Emma, what's your perspective on AI in the hiring process and how candidates are feeling?
So there's two parts of it really. There's a lot of noise, isn't there, around AI out there, a lot of conversation. Businesses are, maybe pausing to see what's going on. But even the leaders out there don't know what's coming yet either, So I haven't, yes, businesses are being impacted on it quite positively, but not big, huge, major changes yet, and nobody knows what's really coming. We definitely have seen it, however, in recruitment processes and candidates unfortunately using it as part of their application process. And it's actually easier to spot than you would realize, and sometimes as simple as they're leaving on the prompts as they copy and paste it over, or it's just the language is very generic. You can definitely see the differences. There are companies out there that are using tools now to be able to identify if AI is being used. I haven't got much exposure on that, but I have heard of businesses doing it, because if you're in, say, the likes of the government sector, and that's quite a lengthy process for applications, and there's many different forms to fill out. And so there's, departments like that that are starting to use these tools to identify things coming through on AI. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, but it is easier to spot than I thought it would be,
There is, yeah, and there's an inherent laziness that comes with that. We've had to, with a couple of staff, where the suggestion is take suggestions for the ChatGPT or whatever it is you want to use, but then it's a cut and paste with actually no human intuition around the writing of it. And I think that's where we're going to see that issue. Back to your point, Emma, it's a great validation for the type of person you want to employ, because if they're going to be that lazy and put no personality in what they're doing, then ultimately it's become a self-selecting process for people at that stage.
It is a bit of an issue in terms of some of the applications that have come through, and then the candidate that has sat in front of us is very different to the application. So they're scoring sometimes quite high, and then when they come in, it is a very different scoring result. Then that is a slight issue now that we're seeing. So I think might see a little bit more of that before the solutions are coming in then as well,
That's definitely, I think, a whole nother webinar in itself about how to use AI for the growth and for the automation, but also making sure that personality and the human behind it is actually represented. And again, with businesses, with recruitment, that it's a fair recruitment process. Again, I know there's a lot of questions about neurodivergence and hiring in that. So I think that, again, it's a session in itself to talk about. But I might just give people 10 minutes back to enjoy this lovely weather we're having. We don't get it very often. And we do have more questions coming in, but I think maybe we'll follow up with them individually. So if anyone does have any specific questions for Emma or Iain, please do feel free to send them in to us. I'll put you in contact with them. They're both available for conversations afterwards, and we'll have this recording available sent out to all the registrations after this. So any final words? Thank you both so much for all your time today. Really, really informative, key takeaways that I think every SME locally here on the call can really just take one or two nuggets to implement today and really help improve their brand, their recruitment strategy, and again, most importantly, their retention. So thank you both so much.